Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are excited. We have an awesome show today. And I'm just going to start by saying we're a group of psychic spiritual mediums coming together to help everyone awaken and align with their higher selves and soul purpose while lifting up humanity. And today we have with us, returning back again, is Mike Borgh. And he is from EnerQiHealing in Sussex, New Brunswick.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, brother.
Welcome.
Happy to be back.
Yeah.
So excited.
So first thing I want to tell everybody in the audience is to get a set of headphones or earbuds. It's a suggestion because we are going to receive a group sound healing today by Mike. And it's a lot better if you do have those together. So I wanted to give everybody a chance to do that. And sound healing is one of the oldest forms of healing in human history, used to help restore a healthy vibration and frequency to the body. And I'm just going to start by having Mike explain to us a little bit more about sound healing and the effects that we can receive from it.
Well, as Jenny stated, sound healing is one of the oldest forms of healing in human history. And what's amazing is that it's been used by all cultures and all religions in various forms. And we all know what happens when we play our favorite piece of music and how it can really just shift our emotions, shift our mood, and help us to process sort of some of the stresses of life. And that's really the magic of the vibrations of sound. We have to remember that sounds are actually a wave. It's a waveform, right? So just like when we throw a rock into the water and we can see the ripples go across the top of the water, what you're actually seeing is the sound wave of the rock hitting the water and then rippling across. So when we play different instruments, or even the most powerful sound healing tool we have available to us is our voice. So when we can use these things, we are actually creating these sound waves, which are then physically felt in our body and can help to reorganize or reprogram energetic frequencies within the body that really aren't working to our advantage or working in harmony with us.
Right. And we encourage people in comments too to ask any questions of Mike if they're not understanding something that he's explaining or just want more information about it. How did you get started with all of this, Mike?
Well, actually, I was unknowingly doing sound healing back when I was about 18, 19 years old, when a friend of mine introduced me to the didgeridoo. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it was just through hearing him play the didgeridoo and then having my opportunity to actually learn to play it. And I was just doing it more for fun because I love the sound and the vibrations of the didgeridoo. Not really at that time really understanding the impact that I was really having on the people that were listening and myself through the vibrations, and how it was actually beginning to shift my awareness and shift levels of my consciousness. So along with me playing the didgeridoo, I also had a bunch of friends who played djembes and hand drums and stuff like that. So we would just get together and jam and have fun. But it was really about 10 years ago where I really started to understand the impact of sound healing and sound vibrations and how it can really shift our life. And then from that point on, I expanded from not just using didgeridoos, but I now play the native healing drums. I have a bunch of metal singing bowls, crystal singing bowls, bells, gongs, and anything else I can get that I can make some good sound with and create experiences for people.
Nice. Yeah, I know with being a Reiki practitioner too, as I begin to expand and add more sound healing into it, it's having even more of a profound effect on my clients and ourselves, like you were talking about. That's always been a cool thing that I'm beginning to realize too, that we get the benefits of it as a practitioner too.
Oh, 100%. And that's why I really enjoy the work that I do, because yes, I get to witness miracles happen for the people I'm working with, but it's a shared experience, and I learn a lot about myself while helping people move through whatever challenges they're faced with in their life. And I like to say I get many treatments during the day just by being present and being a witness to other people's miracles.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just amazing to me how sound energy can be all around us in our everyday lives that we may not even realize that it's happening for us. I mean, right down to listening to music on our music stations. What type of music are we listening to? Is it upbeat? Is it, how does that affect our bodies?
Correct. Well, and it's not only that, but think of those people who are living in busy cities where they're hearing traffic and car horns and construction. And yeah, we get to a point where we can filter a lot of that background noise out, but it's still impacting us and it's still affecting us every day. Or those unfortunate people who are living in war zones and the explosions and all that are happening. It's, those sound waves are definitely affecting them. And, especially the subsonic sound frequencies that we can't audibly hear, but man, do we ever feel it when they move through us.
Yeah.
Right. Good point. I never even thought about the sounds of like traffic and war. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why, it can be so rejuvenating for us to get out into nature and to be out away from the hustle and bustle of modern day life, and to just connect to the sound of the river flowing and the birds chirping and all that does so much to rejuvenate us.
Being by the
Mike,
ocean is another place.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Mike.
Doc.
If you have time at the end of the session, could you give thought, or perhaps just share with us your thoughts on when sound is not healing but the opposite? What sorts of sounds would you perhaps draw our attention to, so that we can actually just sense whether or not it's not it's not productive? I mean, I can think of some dysmorphic chords which I've played inadvertently on a piano and guitar, which when you play them you go, ooh, and you don't like it. But there might be natural sounds out there which perhaps you could later on just tell us a little bit about, that we could be aware of as not being helpful.
Well, it's hard to say for sure, because for some people what makes them uncomfortable actually is very comforting for other people. So It's more on, you have to find and take that moment to tune into yourself and see how your body's reacting to certain notes or certain vibrations or certain sequences of chords. But yeah, there are definitely certain chords and stuff that just, they don't sound or feel good. So it's a little bit of experimentation and what feels right. But again, if things aren't in harmony or it's very chaotic, it can really throw your whole energetic field right off. But, we'll just even look at something like heavy metal music. For some people, it's very uncomfortable. It just brings about a very sense of unease in them. But for people who love heavy metal music, it's actually something that brings them joy and it's relaxing to them. So it's also has a lot to do with our own perception of what it is we're listening to and our own belief systems around the style of music or the instrument. But we can also sort of look at different cultures have different instruments. So for myself, there's a lot of Asian instruments that really irk me, right? And it's the combination of different instruments and the way that they play them isn't in resonance with what I'm used to, because I grew up here in Canada, so I'm very used to a more standardized Western musical formulation and for music and timing and all that and very specific instruments. So, but again, someone who might be, say, maybe grew up in India might hear the electric guitar and that may really set them off, but to them the sitar is very comforting and natural to them.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Well, I
we
can-
had a little discussion, Mike and I, about a singing bowl session that I had and how this one session really just didn't resonate with me, and I struggled with it, having this feeling of actually wanting to flee the room. But I can listen to, I have two other ones that I listen to that hit me very, very differently. You know, it reminds me of they're showing me this visual of the chalkboard with the fingernails, and how some people are really affected by that noise and others aren't affected by that noise.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of the times too, those sounds and those vibrations and those frequencies that actually make us feel uncomfortable can actually be sometimes the most healing out of all of it, because it's sometimes that's actually stirring up and bringing forward that unprocessed vibration within us. And maybe the unprocessed trauma or emotion that's stuck in the body is actually resonating at those frequencies that maybe the sound bowl is making. And that's why it's uncomfortable, because it's actually forcing you to look at those emotions and traumas that you've really buried away and tried to forget about.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to say, sitting in a class of 5-year-olds learning how to play the violin is pretty traumatic when they're all off key. Oh God, it takes so. I'm a classically trained flautist, and I just love sitting in orchestras and playing with the sound around me. But even then, there's some things that can just about take,
Yeah.
Whew, anyway.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that can be very high pitched and screeching when they're first learning that.
So on the flip side of a bunch of 5-year-olds playing violin, Lisa has a question for us here. Christy?
She said, what would be a good sound to listen to daily for healing?
Well, that depends on what it is you're kind of looking to achieve in your day. I did have a little slideshow here that I was going to talk about, so I guess now's a good time to really talk about this. And this may give you some insight into different sounds or things that you may listen to help sort of set intention for the day. So have any of you guys heard of the things called the solfeggio frequencies or solfeggio frequencies? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I have a little slideshow here, so I'll just share this. If you just give me a couple of minutes to go through this, and this might give you some insight, and then you can also use some of these specific tones to help bring about shifts and changes in your experience. So I'm just going to share a screen here, and we'll share that. So can you guys see that screen?
Yep.
Here we go.
All right. So the solfeggio frequencies are actually a set of frequencies that are traced back to the medieval times, and they come from a very specific hymn that was dedicated to John the Baptist. My Latin is terrible, so I will try to say this, but it's Ut Quaent Laxis, which was written by a gentleman named Paulus Diaconus. So what's interesting about this hymn is that the first 6 lines of the music that compose this hymn are actually the first successive notes of the solfeggio scale or solfeggio scale. And that's ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So this is actually signifying that the music and this piece of music holds very strong mathematical resonance. And we're all very familiar that music is mathematics. And that's why when music is done well and put in succession and mathematically sound, it makes us feel good. But if those mathematics are off and we get off notes and things out of tune, it really doesn't sound comfortable to us. So these frequencies specifically are capable of spiritually awakening mankind to be more attuned to source or to God, if that's how you want to associate with that. So here is the scale. So on the left side here, we see the original solfeggio scale, which is the ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. And that's starting at 396 hertz, 417, 528, 639, 741, and 852. But in the more modern times, we've actually included two other notes or frequencies into that scale, which you see on the right side here in the expanded scale. So that's starting at 174, 285, and then the other notes. So what's the significance of this? Well, the numbers 3, 6, and 9. These are number frequencies that we use to tune ourselves back into a perfect vibration. Some of you may have heard this quote from Nikola Tesla, where he once said that if you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would hold the keys to the universe. And the numbers 3, 6, and 9 are actually the fundamental root vibrations of the solfeggio scale. So we're just going to talk a little bit of mathematics here, and then I'll show you how those different frequencies actually break down into 3, 6, and 9. So here we're going to talk about what is known as the Pythagorean reduction method. This is a method of simple reduction used to take big numbers and bring them down into single digits. So what we do is we take the value of all the digits in a number and we add them up. If after the first addition the numbers still contain more than one digit, we repeat the process. So here we'll take an example of the number 426. So that would be reduced by adding 4 plus 2 plus 6, which equals 12. Well, that's still two digits. It's not a single digit. So we're going to reduce 12 down again. So adding 1 plus 2 equals 3. So the number 426 can be reduced down to a vibrational frequency of the number 3. Okay, and why is that important? So if we actually break down the frequency of the solfeggio scale using that method, they actually will all add up to 3, 6, or 9. So we see if we take 174 hertz, breaks down into a 3, 285 breaks down into a 6, and 396 breaks down into a 9. And if we expand that scale to the entire solfeggio scale, we can see 369, 369, 369. So these specific frequencies of vibration can really create a very dramatic change in our experience and our energetic fields. And as we look here at the scale too, if we take the first three, so we look at number 174, which is a 3, and then we move down to the next 3, which is the 417. All we've done is we've taken the 4 from the end of the 174 and moved it to the front, which makes 417. Then if we take that 7 and move it to the front, we get the next 3 number, which is 741. So this is also an easier way to remember these numbers. If you can remember 174, 285, 396, you can figure out the scale for the rest of them just by taking the last number and moving it to the front. So what can we really do to really use this scale? So what's really interesting is, yes, we can listen to those very specific frequencies, and YouTube is filled with meditations and music that is tuned to these specific solfeggio frequencies. So really, to answer that question, I'm going to go through each of these frequencies and what they really represent to us. And if you resonate or you feel you need any of those frequencies, jump onto YouTube and find one of those meditations or pieces of music that is actually tuned to those frequencies to bring that change in. But what we can also do is, when we get used to working with these frequencies, is we can actually call those frequencies into our energetic field by just repeating the numbers in our mind, or even saying it out loud. And just by doing that, so if we all just said 528, 528, you may actually start to notice a feeling or a sensation in the body, especially around the heart area. And again, I'm just going to quickly go through these and give you an idea of what these specific frequencies represent. So 174 is a great frequency that we can use to help reduce pain and inflammation in the body. This is the lowest tone and acts as a very natural pain reliever. It can reduce pain and inflammation on both the physical and energetic levels of the body. and helps to bring a calming sense of security and safety. And that is very vital for our body to begin to heal. As we jump into the 285 frequency, this is a frequency that really helps us to generate and influence our energetic fields. So we can use the 285 frequency to generate energy in our body, or chi in our body, and bring balance to those energetic fields. As you repeat the numbers 285, you may notice about 3 finger widths below your navel, this like tingling sensation or warming sensation begin to develop, again, as you repeat the numbers 285. So, and as we do this and we continue to repeat that number and sit in that frequency, that ball of energy should start to grow, where we can then use our intention and move that energy around to different areas of our body. The dantian in Chinese medicine is actually the center of qi production. And so utilizing this frequency can actually leave you feeling very energized and rejuvenated. The number 396 is a great frequency which helps to liberate us from guilt and fear. It helps to liberate us from the heaviness and the burdens of the guilt we carry and the associating fear. These are actually the most common obstacles that we all face on our journey towards self-realization and help and really prevent us from achieving our goals. 417 is a frequency we can use to help us let go of the past and to begin to facilitate change in our experience. We can use this frequency to shake free and cleanse the holding patterns and beliefs from past traumatic experiences. And as these traumas are released from the cells of the body, this tone can actually be used to help encourage the cells of the body to begin to function at an optimum level. And the more you use this, the more you'll begin to align yourself to an inexhaustible source of energy. 528, this is actually probably the most important number on the solfeggio scale. This is a frequency we can use to create transformation and change of the cells and DNA on all levels. This frequency actually resonates at the frequency of unconditional love. Love vibrates at about 500 hertz. 528 is unconditional love, which is a much higher vibration of love. This, again, we use to bring the cells and the DNA of the body back into its optimal vibrational state. This can increase our mental clarity, our life energy, bring us a deeper sense of awareness, creativity, and inner peace. And we can also use this frequency to activate our imagination, our intention, and our intuition. 639. This is a great frequency to use to help us to connect, understand, and repair relationships. So if you're needing to have a very difficult conversation with somebody, having this tone or this frequency gently playing in the background is actually a good thing, because it's actually a frequency of harmony. It brings harmony into social, professional, and personal relationships. It will also help to encourage communication within that environment and bring a great, and it's great, again, dealing with family, friend, and social issues. This frequency will also help to increase our tolerance, communication, understanding, and love. 3 more. 741. This is a frequency of self-expression and problem solving. We use this frequency to cleanse our mind, body, and spirit of the toxic things that we no longer want in our life. If we use this frequency quite a lot, it actually leads us to live a simpler and healthier life. We will naturally be drawn towards more nurturing, healthy foods and experiences, and we tend to turn away from those lower vibrational frequencies of things and people in our life that don't serve us anymore. It allows us to be able to express our wants and needs, solve our problems, and again, lead you towards leading a more pure and stable life. 852. This is a frequency we can use to begin to awaken our intuition and return to spiritual order. As we repeat 852, you may begin to feel a sense of tingling or an opening over the third eye. And we can use this frequency to really enhance our intuition. You'll be able to see through the illusions of your life with frequent use of this frequency, allowing you to see things like the hidden agendas of people, places, and things. and helps to open you up to communicating with source and helps to raise your awareness and your subtle senses. So for any of you who are practicing mediumship and stuff, using this frequency can really help to tune you into your third eye for a greater sense of clarity when tapping into your psychic abilities or your mediumship. Last one here, 963 is a great frequency we can help use to connect us with source and light. This is a frequency we use to awaken us back to your perfect state. This is a way to get a great direct connection to light and to source. And frequent use of this can give you a direct experience of oneness and help to connect you to your true spiritual nature. So that last one, the 963, is not a frequency that a lot of people are comfortable with. It can actually make a lot of people uncomfortable until they actually learn how to resonate in those higher frequencies on their own. So again, that was a real brief summary of the solfeggio scale. But if there are any of those that kind of resonate with you or something you feel you want to bring into your life, again, jump onto YouTube and find a meditation or a piece of music that's tuned to those frequencies to help bring those benefits into your life.
Very cool. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're muted, Doc. I just gotta mute you. I unmuted you. There you
Okay, thanks. All right, thanks. Mike, is it possible to play those tones?
Yes. I'm not sure how they will sound, but
The other thing that keeps coming up for me, frequency, and one of our comments is about binaural beats too, Mike.
yep. So binaural beats, for those of you who don't know much about the binaural beats, they are actually two frequencies that are just slightly off from each other. So we play one note, goes into one ear, and the other note, I think it's only like 5 or 10 hertz off, is played in the opposite ear. And then when the two sound vibrations meet inside of our brain, they actually create a third vibration. And that's what shifts us into those different states of consciousness through the binaural beats, and why we can use binaural beats to help us achieve higher states of awareness through meditation.
Yeah.
Is that what happens with throat singing, where you get two tones being emanated?
Yep. Yeah. So it's so that's something that's very common in like in the Inuit tribes in northern Canada. They have the throat singing. It's also something that's done Buddhist monks, and I'm sure many other cultures have various aspects of throat singing. I'll speak just an experience I had myself when I lived in Toronto. I had the opportunity to go see Buddhist monks doing their vocal chanting. So basically they just did what they do every day in front of the crowd. And what blew me away in this experience was they were in an old theater called Massey Hall in Toronto, which is just a solid wood theater. 4 monks on stage without microphones or amplification had the building shaking from vibration. And they were using these multiphonic throat singing. And as you looked around and they were doing their chanting and their singing, you start to see people sitting there, and then people would just go, and then come back, because it was creating such a shift within them that people were just kind of going in and out of consciousness or in and out of deep states of meditation through these different vibrations. But what was happening is each monk was actually singing 4 different notes at the same time, which was they were all creating their own harmony. And it was a magical experience to witness.
I bet.
I've noticed that with some people, where they may or may not consciously be aware of this, but their voices, although they are of generally speaking one pitch, it's not strictly true. You can actually hear an overlay on some of these folks when there's a high pitch resonance and their normal voice. And it's really quite remarkable when you can attune to this, because it has a very different feeling to it and a very different sensation. And I don't know whether you've observed that yourself with your work, because it's something which I've asked about. And nobody else can pick it up. I don't know whether it's my hearing or whether it's something else that's going on. You know.
Well, you have the advantage of actually being classically trained musician, right? So you can pick up those off tones and those different frequencies. Myself, I'm not a classically trained musician, but my wife is. My wife has gone through the entire Ontario Conservatory of Music in piano. So for her, she can just hear a note and go, oh, it's this C note at this frequency, and it's off by this much. Whereas to me, it's just a sound, right?
The thing I just want to share with everyone is that in Western classical music, you might have semitones, and occasionally you've got hemi-semitones, like quarter of a notes. But in other forms of classical music, A, the scales are totally different, and B, the tones, there are so many subtle variations between one note and another. You can't believe how complex it gets. And I think that our ears are slightly, and even our sense of rhythm, dare I say it, in Western classical and Western music in general, is very, very constrained. So without going in too much, just to give you one example, you might have heard of beats in a bar like 4/4, 2/4, 6/8, 12/8 is about the most complicated, and then you've got some really weird ones like 5/7 as well. But in Eastern classical music, you've got 64 beat bars, and you sit there thinking, what? How are you going to keep up with this stuff? So there are many, many other modalities of hearing and understanding music, but what's striking is with the throat singing. I've been to some Greek Orthodox churches, and the chanting of the monks comes in at a particular pitch, which is almost the same pitch as that of the bass notes in a didgeridoo in Buddhist chanting, and even in the word Om when it's said in a monastery. It's the same. I can't get the pitch now, but it's that same sort of bass pitch which goes straight through you, and you can feel it. You can absolutely feel it, and everybody gets it. And I just wondered if you'd observe that yourself with your work with bowls and stuff.
Well, I'll speak from my own personal experience. I personally really love low bass tones. That's just really what moves me. And the higher pitched sounds, I can tolerate them. But if I had the choice to listen to bass, I will take bass. Because to me, it's more the feeling that bass gives me, and to feel that bass move through my body is much more what I prefer. But again, I'm not a classically trained musician, so to speak on that stuff, it's a little out of my wheelhouse. You're more the expert in that.
Yeah. Well, the only observation I can make is that if you ever have the privilege of playing the cello or sitting next to a cello player, the sound of the cello is said to match, I think it is the cello or maybe the viola, match the human voice more than any other instrument. And because of that, our resonance, the structure of our body, of our chest, of our the whole of the structure of the upper part of the body seems to fit in well with the cello, and it just cuts straight through you, like as you're saying, like with a bass sound. I was just wondering. I was just curious to know whether in your practice whether you've seen that yourself. But obviously, it's a very personal observation you're making.
Yeah, well, and you touched on Om a couple times, right? So Om is said to actually contain the frequency of all sound within it, and is said to be the frequency of source. So that's why when we chant Om, and especially when we do it out loud, and it's even more powerful when it's done in a group, it can really shift us into a deeper state of awareness and a deeper state of consciousness, because it's really helping to align us to our source frequency. And even if we just look at something like the Bible, at first there was sound, right? And then there was light. So sound created light. So sound is, well, in the Bible, I believe they use the term, the sound was God and then there was light or something like that.
First there was the word, and the word was good.
Yes.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
interesting with the ohm as well. The recent protests that we had in Canada, some of the locations where there's large masses of people, they sat there silently, cross-legged on the floor, and they just held the tone of ohm. And they all did this. And when you were there, even just listening to it at any time, it was just so powerfully moving.
Mm-hmm.
Being there in silence or just chanting ohm, it was moving, extremely moving.
One of my favorite tuning forks that I use is a ohm tuning fork, which you cannot hear. It doesn't make a noise outward, but the vibration of the ohm on the people is amazing, and they always say how much they really like that tuning fork.
Have any of you heard of cymatics before? So this is something done through science to show how different frequencies actually hold geometric patterns. And when I first saw this, it kind of blew my mind open to really see what's happening. And when we really understand that at our purest, rawest form, we are nothing but geometric shapes vibrating as energy. And when these geometric shapes and these frequencies of us get thrown out of alignment, that's when disease and dysfunction begins to happen in the body. So I'm just going to share a quick video here so you guys can see what happens when different tones are played and sort of the geometric shapes that do come about from this. So I'm just going to share another screen here. We will share this and we'll make it a big screen. I'm just starting in the middle of the video here just to give you an idea. So what they've done is they put a sand solution onto a vibrating plate, and then they play specific tones of sound through the plate. And what you'll see is the plate vibrates, and then the sound is going to cause the sand to shift into different geometric shapes. So we'll just play this. So there you can see them adding more sand. And as the frequency changes, here you can actually see the geometric patterns beginning to shift. So not every frequency will create these geometric patterns, but as they are changing the different tones, you'll get those kind of transition phases as the sand vibrates into these different geometric shapes. So I always thought this was really cool, especially as we get into these higher frequencies. The patterns tend to get a little more intense. Just kind of scan through so you can kind of see.
I've seen the same thing with water coming out of a nozzle or a pipe, that when you apply certain frequencies, instead of the water just coming down as you would expect via gravity, it actually takes on different sort of zigzag and other types of shapes.
Yeah,
and it's just incredible. And then it sort of dawned upon me, well, actually, because we are primarily water, the same thing would be occurring within us when we hear music or sounds of other sorts, and irrespective of the physical structures,
Yeah, well, and that's also, I'm sure most of you have probably heard of Dr. Emoto and his studies of water and how our thoughts and our emotion can change the cellular structure of water. So the same thing happens when we play music to the water, it actually changes the cellular structure, the vibrational frequency of the water molecules. And as you said, Doc, right, we're 70 to 80% water. So when we are surrounding ourselves with different frequencies, different tones, or even say people who are just angry all the time, the water molecules in their body have actually changed their vibrational frequency to that of whatever the emotion it is that they are holding on to, or the sounds that they are surrounding themselves with.
So going back to Lisa's question, she was asking about the sounds to listen on daily for healing. So it seems like one of those frequencies, depending on the type of healing that you're looking for, one of the frequencies would be specific for that. So would you just play that in the background or have it in headphones? Is there a difference whether it's in the room, how loud it is? Can Can you comment on that?
It's more of a personal preference. Me personally, I like loud music, so the louder my music, the better. But again, we don't necessarily need to hear it.
Right.
These sound frequencies, even someone who's deaf will still receive the benefit because they can still feel the vibration moving through them. So you can, if you want to listen to them on headphones, you can. You can put them over speakers in your house. You can even, like I said, when I went through the solfeggio scale, you can even just repeat those numbers and think of those numbers, and you're drawing those vibrations in. Mm-hmm. But back to that question that was asked, if you're just looking for a good frequency to listen to every day, I would suggest the 528 frequency, and any music or meditation that's tuned to the 528 frequency. But really, find your favorite piece of music that uplifts you and brings you into a different space, and listen to those. There's also lots of sound healing meditations on YouTube. I have a couple of my own on my YouTube channel as well, and a couple on my Facebook page, which I know Con will share my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. I post sound healings up there every once in a while. So even if you have your own instruments, if you have your own singing bowls, your own drums, maybe you play the violin or something like that, play some music. And that alone is a great way to bring sound and vibration into your daily life.
That's right. That's right.
Love
Well,
that.
speaking of instruments, Mike, you are going to take us through what you use for your sound healing, and we probably should get to that so we have time for the healing.
All right.
session.
So I have many different instruments that I typically use at my disposal. One of the more common ones that people are familiar with are these metal singing bowls. Most people call these Tibetan singing bowls, but that is actually not correct. These are not Tibetan. They are actually originally from Nepal. So it's a more correct to call them a Nepalese singing bowl. But again, we all associate them with Tibetan Buddhists. And I'm assuming that's more from the Free Tibet movement of the 60s and 70s, where we get that. But these bowls are actually an alloy metal. So they're made from 7 different metals, some of them being gold, silver, tin, brass, and a few others that I don't know offhand. But what's amazing about these metal singing bowls is they actually will play 2 or more notes at the same time, or 2 more frequencies at the same time. So typically, I'm not sure how this is going to sound here, but as we hit it, we get that one frequency. And then if I took a stick and went around the outside, it would actually start to sing in a different note at the same time. Much like how if we take a crystal wine glass and we go around the top with a wet finger, we can make the crystal sing, right? I find the metal bowls are really good. They're much more soothing and comforting in a sound healing experience. They tend to take us on a little bit more of a journey inwards, and to help us move through a lot of our unprocessed traumas and issues. I also do have other singing bowls. This one here is a crystal singing bowl. So this is actually a byproduct of the industrial world. These came from the building of microchips. So they would actually have microchips inside of these, and they use these to heat them up to specific temperatures as they're making various electronics and microchips. Once they're done with that, they then get shaved and tuned to different frequencies. So this one happens to be an F note. So you might be able to hear it. What makes these a little different than the metal bowls is the crystal singing bowls actually produce what is known as a sin wave. So they actually produce one high frequency note. That one specifically produces an F note. I find these crystal bowls, for a lot of people, find them very uncomfortable when they really get going, because they're really a tool to use to punch through and break those walls down within our consciousness and those things that are holding us back, and sometimes not in a comfortable way. So a lot of people really don't resonate well with crystal bowls, but once you've broken through it and healed a lot of those traumas and those emotions, then the crystal bowls become a much more powerful ally for you. Any questions on those bowls before I move on? All right.
Do you use what you mentioned F? I can't remember the name of the scale, but there's like a natural scale, and there's when they shifted the frequencies down or up. So which of I don't know what the name is. Which type of
I don't know where that feedback's coming from.
Looking for the chakra, maybe, Mike.
Well, the music nowadays is tuned to 440 hertz, which is slightly off. The scale, in order to actually be in resonance with the solfeggio scale, is actually 336, I believe, is the actual scale. So the music has just been tuned off just a little bit. And really, that was something that was done by the music industry back in the 50s, I believe. They changed the standardized tones. Myself, again, I'm not musically trained, so when I do sound healing, I'm more tuned into the energy, and I read the energy of the people I'm working with, and then play the appropriate sounds and vibrations according to what I feel they need energetically. But there is a lot of study that does associate different musical notes with different organs of the body, different muscles in the body, and so on. But again, I don't have that knowledge handy, so I can't necessarily give that to you right here. But definitely easily found online to get that information.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if can you guys hear that feedback?
It's
Is that
just
coming
barely, Mike. It's not
Okay.
bad on our end.
So I also have these elephant bells. So these are made from the same metal as the Nepalese singing bowls. So same thing. I have a few different these bells that I use. Bells and these things known as tingshes or hand cymbals. These are typically used at the end of a meditation or something like that, because these are something to kind of bring us back into the physical body and bring us back into awareness. But these are also tuned to using the same metals as the singing bowls, and they do hold a really high resonance. These tingshes are absolutely amazing. I absolutely love these. And the tingshes are also really good because you can hit them, and as I'm doing sound healing over the body, I can actually move them over different areas of the body. Also here, I do have my healing drum, my native healing drum that I actually had the privilege of making this one myself. So drums aren't just a Native American thing. As you know, drums are in all cultures and all religions. And according to the native traditions here in the Western world, in North America, the drums hold a very feminine vibration, and they actually represent more of our grandmother type energy and our ancestral energy. And what's really great about the drum beat too is it mimics the first sound we hear when we're in the womb, and that's the heartbeat. Right? So there's not many people I've met that don't enjoy a good drum beat. And it really just helps to bring us back to that state of knowing within. I really love the drums myself, especially these native healing drums. They just bring such a great change. And when they're played for an extended period of time, they can take us on a conscious journey. So they can help us to journey deep within ourselves and to help us resolve and uncover aspects of ourselves that are actually limiting our experience in life or creating disharmony. And the last one here that I have, this one's a little bit bigger. There, you can see it. This is a didgeridoo. So for those of you who have never seen or heard of a didgeridoo, these come from the Australian Aboriginal culture, more specifically from the northern tribes of Australia. This is not an instrument that was throughout Australia, again, just from the northern tribes. And the didgeridoo is used throughout many Aboriginal ceremonies, healing applications, and celebrations. What I really love about the didgeridoo, well, especially when I play it, is I give it the voice and I let it sing the song it needs to sing. I really fell in love with the didgeridoo because it was an instrument I could play without needing to read music or understand music theory in order to actually be able to play it and play it well. It's really just a hollowed out piece of wood, and the different sounds and the different frequencies and the different vibrations that can be produced with the didgeridoo are absolutely incredible. And much like the drum, the didgeridoo will take you deep inside and begin that inner healing process and inner journeying process as you are exposed to it and hear it. And then you can see, let's see right there behind me is my gong. That gong is specifically tuned to the frequency of the planet Uranus. So for those of you who aren't familiar with planetary energies, Uranus is a frequency of change and healing, and really helps us to shift into those very deep healing vibrations within. The gong, if you've never heard a gong, it's a trip. It's a real healing experience to hear the gong. Most people's experience with the gong is just someone hitting it and that's it. But when it actually starts to get going and it really starts this like rolling effect of sound and vibration, it's actually, to me, is one of the quickest ways to break through pain and trapped emotion and trauma in the body is through that gong. And I'll be playing that for you guys in a moment. And any questions on any of that?
I've got a couple of questions from the audience. Marlene asked, how do you find music to go with the frequency you desire?
So if you're talking about the solfeggio scale, if you just type into the search on YouTube, 528 music or 417 music or whatever the frequency is that you want, just type that into YouTube and you'll get lots and lots of options.
And Mina says, I had experiences where I'm shifting from one dimension to another. I can totally feel the transitions from 6th to 9th dimension. How is that possible?
That's an interesting question. How is that possible? Well, that's our natural birthright as a human, is to experience all those different forms and different frequencies and dimensional vibrations. That's all a dimension is just a different state of frequency or vibration. So as you are tuning into these different or higher states of vibration, maybe through sound, it's actually shifting you up into those frequencies. And I'm going to repeat myself from the last time I was on here, but this may help. And it's that idea of energy and frequency is like a radio bandwidth. And if your frequency is only stuck at 99.9 on that radio scale, all you can pick up and sense and experience is from 88.1 to 99.9 on that radio dial. But as you begin to shift your awareness and increase your consciousness, your scale and your bandwidth and the frequency range you have connection to increases. So maybe as you shift into these higher states of awareness, maybe you only get to 102.1 on the radio bandwidth, or maybe you go all the way and you get up to 107.9, I think is the end of the radio scale. So as you yourself are opening up to these higher states of vibration and different states of frequency, that's allowing you access to these higher states of awareness, or dimensions as we call them. And sound healing is a great way to open up these doors into higher states of awareness and consciousness.
Awesome answer. Yeah, that's great. Lisa has a comment for you. It says, I've been on the edge of my seat this whole time. Your knowledge and enthusiasm has had me captivated. Thank you so much for sharing this with us today. Loving every minute of it.
My pleasure. It's for me, I love to teach and I love to share. So for me to be able to share some of my experience and my wisdom is truly a gift for me as well.
Same here. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm loving it. I can't wait for the online courses are going to come out.
Someone was asking if you could play.
Yeah, I'll be doing that probably in the next couple minutes. I have behind me a bunch of singing bowls and my gong set up and one of my didgeridoos. So the didgeridoo is definitely my specialty. So I will definitely be playing that for you here today.
Awesome. That was actually from Jim. He was on with you last time.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Any other questions, or should I get myself prepared to do some sound bites?
I think that was a slide right into it.
All right. So just give me a minute to get myself settled so you guys can talk amongst yourself, and I'll be ready in a moment.
This is like waiting for Thanksgiving dinner to be served. It's just like the anticipation is beside us. So excited. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe you want to get a drink of water or get settled in, get comfortable.
Yeah,
Headphones, headsets. Christy's all ready.
Now, for those that don't know, Mike needed to switch his speaker around, so we might actually hear ourselves speaking through the speakers. So it was a special setup that we had to test out.
Con, your mic sound is low. I can't hear you very well.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
You, I can hear, but not Con.
Yeah. How about now?
Better.
Good.
You're good.
Thank you. Yeah, I switched myself to original sound. Yeah, because I was going to play some frequency stuff.
Yeah, Mike, that sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yep.
Okay, so I will get myself settled and I'll start, and I'll go for 15 minutes or so.
Sounds good.
Great.
All
Let's
right.
all mute ourselves. To everybody else, let's mute ourselves and just give Mike the full mic.
All right, so those of you who are listening in, just take a moment, take some slow, deep breaths. Bring yourself into looking inwards. If you want to lay down, go ahead. This is also a good time to put on your headphones if you haven't. Sound travels better through the headphones when we do these sound healings. And give yourself an opportunity to set any intentions you would like to set. And I hope this sounds okay. Typically, in a sound healing session, I always like to give a couple minutes of silence at the end, but because we are scheduled with time here, I'm not going to do that. But there's honestly just as much power in the silence as there is in the sound and the vibrations. So, as typically at the end of a session, I really like to give lots of silence to just let people sort of sit and be in that space and in that silence and actually hear the silence, because silence does make sound.
Holy crap, Mike.
Yeah.
Wow. That was great.
I hope the bowls and the gong sounded okay through the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it was great. There's only a couple of sounds that got slightly distorted. You got really hard on it. But other than that, like you could still feel the vibration beyond that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But pretty much, like I'd say, like 98% of it was spot on, man.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy the sounds came through. Typically when I do public sound immersions, we prefer the term sound immersion over sound bath. But when we do them, it's typically my wife and I will conduct them together. Because she's got the musical training, musical background, she's usually sitting in a circle with all our crystal singing bowls around her. And you probably saw that big metal bowl on the floor there. And then I move around the space playing the didgeridoo and taking this bigger metal bowl around with me as well, around the space. And this bowl is actually pretty amazing because when I do sessions, private one-on-one sessions, this usually sits underneath my massage table. But if I'm doing a sound healing session, it'll come out and I'll put it right on top of the abdomen of the person I'm working on. And then the vibrations go right through the body. I'll tell you right now, if you're constipated, this on the abdomen will get stuff moving really quickly.
Yeah.
And if we also look into sort of the Nepalese and Tibetan culture, when they did use the singing bowls, I don't have one here, but no, they would typically put like a donut, like a cotton donut or something on the head, and then place the bowl like that, and then hit it to let the vibrations. That surprisingly, that's what they'd use to cure headaches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. It doesn't seem surprising to me when you think about energy healing and how it works. Pretty cool.
Well, everything is vibration.
Your native drums came through beautiful.
Oh, wonderful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And it's interesting how you were sustaining the sound, like you kept on feeding it to us. And you're right that if you just hear it once, okay, it's the sound. It has a certain tone to it. But when you constantly hit it and send that vibration out, it is profound what is happening in the body. And I lost consciousness for a second there as well.
With the
definitely
gong?
Blacked out. I forgot which one. I think it was the gong.
Yeah,
The gong. I definitely did blacked out for a little bit, and I came back to holy crap. Like,
Yeah, the first time I received a real gong experience, it was a gentleman was doing it on me, and it was in the middle of a health fair, so busy people everywhere, and I just immediately, as soon as he hit the gong, I was taken back to a past life of being a monk in the mountains in the Himalayas, and it felt so much like home to me. And then it's like, I need a gong. And, thankfully, Sylvie and I were able to manifest a gong into our life.
Nice.
Wow.
The bowls have had that same effect with me right from the get-go. The first time I was in a session, I knew right away that they're amazing. And I was dealing with some neuropathy in my feet, and through the bowls and Reiki, I'm not having that condition anymore. So it is an amazing, powerful healing tool, all these things.
And what I find really interesting too is the big silver bowl on the ground there. I always play it at the beginning and the end of the session. And you can tell if someone comes in and they're holding on to a lot of emotion or they're just really stressed out, the bowl barely resonates. But by the end of the session, when I hit it, it has that long sustained resonance to it. But if I hit it at the beginning and it sings loud, it's like, okay, this person's in a good place. Let's take this person on a trip to even higher space. And it's amazing.
That's awesome.
I can see that.
Doc?
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of things I've seen, which just to sort of expand the experience. I've seen some videos of I think it was Marie who was doing the sound bowl somewhere near some water. This is when we were doing the 101 with William, and also recently there was a video of Marie, I think somewhere up in the hills as well, and the resonance of the sound was really quite profound. In addition to which, I've also seen somebody take a gong into a cancer ward where a very, very poorly person was honestly almost at the point of crossing, and the effect, not just within the room but throughout the wards, was really quite remarkable, where everybody sort of almost stopped still and just listened. And even the clinicians came in and said, wow, because they could feel it as they walked into their environment. And so as lovely as it is to have it in a controlled environment, for example, in your setting that you have there, there are opportunities to take this beyond just the setting of home. Obviously with due care and attention if the instrument is fragile. Because it really is something else when it goes into a natural setting. And I remember that both the singing bowl that Marie did and also the gong thing that I heard was just off the scale. It's really amazing.
Yeah, what's amazing about the gong too is there are a few videos on YouTube where they did some experiments with a gong. And they actually took a live blood sample from somebody before a gong session. They analyzed it, and it showed the blood cells moving rather sluggishly and slow. They then did a 15-minute sound bath just with the gong, and then they took another sample of blood, and then all of a sudden, it was like there was a party going on in this person's blood. Everything came to life, moving quickly, and it was amazing to see that sort of physical documentation of what is truly happening inside of us after experiencing something like a gong.
Yeah.
Rachel, were you going to say something?
Yeah, just about my experience with it. I mean, I haven't had it before this, but it was really cool. Like, I was definitely going on a journey. I was going all over the place. I was seeing like sacred geometry when you first came in. It was like galactic vibes, and then I was starting to see the sacred geometry, and then I was going into and then I saw like a phoenix rising, like that kind of energy coming out. I was hearing like rebirth and all of that, and then lots of pyramid energy, lots of like ancient Egypt, which I know I have ties to, and I felt Buddha come in at one point, Osiris come in. It just kept shifting and changing. And then I was, then you started playing the drums, and I was seeing like the moon, and I was seeing like swans and doves and white birds, and like Mother Mary's energy, feeling that. And it was just going on a journey. But there was a time where I like also lost consciousness. I wasn't even focusing on my breath. Like, you know, normally we do like a meditation, we do the grounding, we focus on our breath, and we can get into that state. But it's like, I was like, well, you know, I wasn't focusing on my breath, and I wasn't feeling like super meditative when we first started. But by then I was like going in and out, and I'm like, wow, like that's amazing. Sound can take you there. And my breathing was like as if I had been meditating, or, you know. So, and I'm feeling very calm and peaceful inside, and I felt like vibrations in and out of my body. It was really awesome. At one point I even had like chest pain, like, but I just knew that it was just like something being released, you know, and it's gone now. Like by the end it was gone, but just really, really fascinating.
Yeah, most definitely something was being released. Again, not every sound that is played is comforting to you, because it's actually stirring stuff up. That's actually a very common feedback I get when I do sound sessions is some people say it's almost like an elephant sitting on their chest, making it hard to breathe. But the more they just kind of surrender into it, then it just moves through, and it's almost like breaking the dam and letting that energy flow through. And it's amazing when I do the sound healing sessions. I'm not focusing specifically on, say, emotional healing, but people have huge emotional releases, especially when that gong gets going.
Yeah, I bet.
So I would think many of us have the singing bowls at home. How could we use these bowls in our own practice? I mean, we don't have a setup like you do, but we might have a bowl. I think the majority of people have a bowl. How would they use it in their daily lives?
Use it during meditation. So if you do sit down to meditate or pray, play the bowl and go around it and let it sing. That alone becomes very meditative. And that's part of the reason why they use the bowls during meditation, is because that whole process and just focusing on that is enough to keep the mind occupied, that you're not focused on thoughts and other distractions. If you're stressed out or overwhelmed, it's amazing how even just 2 minutes of playing your bowl will shift the energy for you. Yeah. Even if it's just, by your front door when you come in the house, just hit the bowl once and let that shift out the energy of the outside world, and so you don't bring it into your house. I don't necessarily sit down and sit cross-legged and meditate often, but I will grab my didgeridoo and I'll sit and play for 10, 15 minutes and go on a trip and see whatever happens. That's more of a meditation for me than anything.
Love that.
Well, especially because I'm sure you all noticed I was circular breathing, right? So I was still breathing, which is why I was able to sustain playing for so long. So, I've sat down and played for an hour nonstop with the didgeridoo because I've gone on a conscious journey while playing and didn't realize how long I was actually playing. I only stopped because my diaphragm went into spasm.
I bet.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I'm just blown away by this session, Mike. I'm blown away.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming today and explaining. You did a great job explaining each piece that you use and how it works. And it was wonderful having you here today.
Well, thank you. It's always my pleasure. And as I said before, I will happily join you folks anytime you have an opportunity for me to be here.
We'll be talking, brother. There's definitely going to be more opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
quickly becoming a guest favorite.
I think we're going to be inspired to go learn the didgeridoo now.
It's definitely not an easy thing to learn, but once you get the bass noise out of it, then it's just kind of moving your tongue around your mouth, all the different sounds. There's no holes or anything on it, so it's just me moving the tongue to the roof of my mouth, to the bottom of my mouth, moving it forward to my tongues, vibrating my throat, vibrating my diaphragm and my stomach, and that changes all the sounds and stuff that is coming out of the didgeridoo.
So cool.
It's a very cool instrument.
So Mike, what it sounds like to me is that as you're changing the structure of your mouth, the air that's coming through is being bent.
Yeah,
swirled
correct.
in a particular way, and that creates the resonance. It reminds me very much of how somebody described the proper way of saying the word "om," which is which basically shifts the sound from your diaphragm into your chest, through your throat, and out through your mouth. And the it vibrates your lips, so you're getting a multiplicity of resonances and sounds and tones, which when you play all of those instruments does the same thing, because you're being hit like with a full range of tones, not just one narrow range, which we get used to when we're playing, for example, a classical instrument, which is usually just one tone.
Yeah. Well, and it's I also have 11 didgeridoos, and they all sound very different, and they all bring about a different feeling or experience. I have one didgeridoo that when I play it, it tends to bring a lot of the more shadow self or darker aspects of a person forward. So it's not one that gets played often unless that person is really ready to face that stuff. But again, I have the whole range of musical notes in didgeridoos, and they're all a different entity on their own.
So,
That's really cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. A lot of people in the comments really, really enjoyed this session and are very appreciative. So we will definitely have to have you back again.
Wonderful.
Sure, yeah. And I'd like to share your info. Do we have where people can contact Mike on his website or Facebook?
We have website and Facebook. Yeah.
Website and Facebook.
Yeah. So on the Facebook page, there are a few sound healing recordings. You'll have to look back to about April 2020. My wife and I did 2-hour-long sound healings at the beginning of COVID that we shared out there. So that you can find them if you dig deep on the EnerQiHealing Facebook page. And I'll have more popping up on my YouTube page, which will be fed through the Facebook page.
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, and so we'll just quickly go around and see what anybody has going on this week. Any events? We'll start with Jenny. Jenny, anything?
Nothing specific this week, just continuing on.
Yeah. Okay. Con? Anything coming up?
Yeah. So Friday is the next live event of channeling Eric and Archangel Guidance. So that'll be just channeling messages. And I'm actually working on the first video to release. I've begun actually documenting reversing MS and degenerative disc disease in this body. And since the start of the Patreon channel, I've started up actually the recording now. So now I've been completely guided to get this on tape and record it. So I'll be sharing that out to my patrons only. And then who knows when that'll be going to everyone else. But that'll be the first coming out there. So I hope people can kind of show their support and come out onto my Patreon page. That'd be great because I'll be showing out. That'll be coming out by this weekend for sure, if not sooner. Yeah.
Nice. And Christy, anything with you?
No, I don't have anything new coming up, but I did wanted to share that I have been attending for the past couple of months. I've been to like 3 healing sessions, and which was like this and in person. And I had my first experience with a gong, and I had the same thing as you, Mike. I was just like, what was, because I was not facing him. I couldn't look and see what he was even doing. And I was like, what is that? It was so, it was a really deep experience for me. So I get that. It's really something. I really like the gong. I'm gonna have to get me one.
Yeah, it's awesome. Same here. It's like, whoa, I could feel
It's very
it.
profound.
Yeah.
My chakras are just fully vibrating still right now. My soul center channel is just, it's upset and happy at the same time.
It's going to continue. We always tell our clients that it's going to continue for a couple days, probably, that shifting from all of this energy that was moved today. Cool. Drink lots of water, everybody.
It's true. Yeah, definitely. How about you, Doc? Anything coming up?
I can't hear you.
Oh, how about you? Or anything coming up? Doc? Yeah. Oh, that's your.
I'm really sorry, I can't hear you because it just had a phone call come in. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yeah. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Can anyone else hear me?
So, long story short, I think I've got the second video sorted out for the TikTok and the website. The one thing I would mention to you is I've bought, Mike, like yourself, quite a few musical instruments over the years. And my wife has also bought 2 gongs and a few other bowls. And the thing I would say is that if you're thinking of buying a gong, the gong chooses you. It's not the other way around, okay? So go to a shop where there are many, many gongs and try them out and see which one resonates with you, because it's a very profound, as you know, experience when you connect with that instrument. Just like Mike, you have that thing about your different didgeridoos for different things. I've got some of the things with guitars and wind instruments and other things. But it's really very important that you choose the one that suits you and fits you, because there are times when we've bought bowls and you try a bowl, and then the salesman picks up this bowl in a box and gives it, oh, here's the same bowl. You take it home and it doesn't sound the same at all. So you must buy the bowl or the instrument that you resonate with. Because it's exceptionally disappointing when you carry it home and you realize it doesn't sound the same.
Yeah.
And it's a heavy thing to lug around. So
We've ended up with many singing bowls because of that.
Yeah.
Someone played it in the store and it's like, ooh, that one's mine.
yeah.
So it's a different.
And the last thing to mention, if you're going to buy a gong, get a
versus-
gong case as well, because when you're shifting in the car, it's very easy to dent it, and so make sure you get a case to carry it. And the same thing with the delicate singing bowl, because they're very expensive to buy again. Anyway,
Yes.
that's what I want to say, folks. I'm sorry I can't hear what you're saying, so please carry on. Over to Rachel next.
Okay. But my question for Mike then on that is, so does that mean that whoever plays it changes the resonance of the bowl or how the bowl sounds based on the person playing the bowl? Or is it just, what does that mean then?
I'm sure there's probably some truth to that, because that person is a specific frequency, and then their frequency interacting with the sound of the frequency of the bowl would be different than if I was playing it. So that's something we would have to try out, experiment, and see.
Yeah.
But intellectually, it makes sense that that could happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's so much to talk about, but it's a fascinating topic. Yeah. So I guess that leaves me on.
It's more with you, Rachel.
I got going on. Not too much. Well, yeah. Tomorrow we do our mediumship practice. I post that with Con on my private Facebook group, Intuitive Soul Rising. I don't think I have anything else coming up, but we do have our show next week, Divine Soul Awakening, which is next Wednesday. And let's see, our guest for that week is going to be Marjorie Reynolds. And she was here a couple weeks ago talking about spiritual practices and rituals. And so next week she's coming back to talk about the Akashic Records, because she gives she leads people into like a meditation and does the channels information from the Akashic Records. So she'll be doing that and talking about that, which will be really exciting to learn more about. And for me, I just posted my video with David Bowie up. That was on my YouTube, my first part interview with him, which was kind of cool because he talks a lot about his galactic roots and his human experiences and all the crazy characters that he came up with. So that I just posted on my YouTube. And that's about it. But don't forget to like our videos and subscribe to the different channels that we're on. So this video plays on Con's channel, my channel. I think Jenny, you have a YouTube channel. Doc, you have a YouTube. Everybody here has YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So check out all of our channels. And that's it. It was really
I just have one final question for Mike. Mike, are people able to book with you, let's say distantly, if you're doing sound healing or any type of energy healing?
Yep. So on the website there that's listed, I do have an online booking schedule up there, so they can just go in, book themselves in. And what's great is it also adjusts the time according to your time zone. So I do work with people all over the world. We can do sound healing. We can do just energy work or whatever it is that you require.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Nice.
awesome. So I think that's it for now, unless anyone has anything else. Well, I guess we'll just see you guys next week, and much love to Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye, everybody. Love
Bye,
you.
everyone.